Well, today we've got, quite a stack of sources. They tell this incredible story, really, about a personal miracle unfolding against a truly vast and tragic backdrop.
It's a story about systemic crime, decades of it, but also about human connection in the most unexpected ways.
Exactly. We're talking about how sometimes the truth behind maybe 50 years of organized crime gets cracked wide open, not by some big investigation, but by a single social media video, just 5 seconds long.
Yeah, we're focusing on Amy Cavittia and Anna Sartania, twins born in Georgia back in 2002. They were separated right at birth, actually stolen, we now know, and then sold to different families living hundreds of kilometers apart.
And they found each other purely by chance at 19?
Right, 19. And that discovery, that reunion, it wasn't just their personal story. It ripped the lid off this massive black market baby trade that had been operating in Georgia for decades.
So our mission today is pretty clear. We want to unpack how they found each other. The sheer coincidence is almost unbelievable. Then dig into the evidence they uncovered, the proof that their adoptions weren't just irregular, they were outright criminal.
And crucially, understand the scale of this thing. This wasn't isolated. It was a huge criminal network. The numbers involved, they're just staggering, possibly up to 100,000 lives affected.
It really puts the personal search for identity against this massive institutional failure.
Absolutely. You have this crime syndicate that somehow survived regime changes, political chaos, everything, only to be tripped up, really, by a TikTok clip.
Incredible. Okay, let's unpack this. So Amy and Annetta were born in 2002, separated immediately. But the first sort of glimmer of connection, the first near miss, that didn't happen until 2014. They were 12 years old then.
Right. And it happened so publicly. That's what's wild. On national television.
Yeah, Amy Cavittia, she was living out west in Georgia near the Black Sea. And her family's watching Georgia's Got Talent, popular show.
And boom, there on the screen is Anna Sartania dancing. And she looks exactly like Amy, her perfect double.
Not just similar, identical. The sources say Amy's adoptive mom got calls right after, immediately. Friends, family asking, hey, why is Amy dancing on TV using a different name?
People genuinely thought it was Amy. The resemblance was that absolute, especially broadcasts like that.
But here's the crucial part, right? What happened?
Nothing. The family, Amy's adoptive family, just shut it down. They dismissed it, used that old line, oh, everyone has a doppelganger somewhere.
Wow. Just like that, despite everyone calling.
Just like that. It was, let's say, a very convenient explanation, right? It allowed them to avoid the whole uncomfortable truth about her adoption, which was secret.
It really highlights how fragile that secret was, though.
Yeah.
That they rather dismiss an identical twin on national TV than face, the reality of how Amy came to be with them.
Exactly. And it worked for a while. The lie held. But Amy remembered. Imagine being 12, seeing yourself on TV, and being told you didn't see what you saw. That stuck with her. It planted this seed of doubt, this feeling that something wasn't right. If things had been handled honestly back then, who knows? Maybe this whole thing could have unraveled years earlier.
It definitely set the stage, though. Because without that memory, that knowledge that this other Amy was real, maybe the TikTok video later wouldn't have clicked in the same way.
Good point. It was like the universe gave them a nudge, and even though the adults ignored it, the kid held on to it.
Okay, so fast forward 7 years. It's 2021.
7 years pass, yeah. The twins are 19 now, and the setting changes completely. Not a big TV show, but TikTok, the most decentralized thing imaginable.
And this time the roles are flipped.
Right. Now it's Anna Sartania. She's living way over in Tbilisi, the capital. That's about, 320 kilometers east from where Amy was?
Quite a distance.
Yeah. And a friend sends her this TikTok, just a short clip. Some girl, bright blue hair, getting her eyebrow pierced.
At NOCZ.
And her first thought isn't, that's me, or that's the girl from TV. It's just, cool, someone looks just like me. She liked the blue hair.
So no immediate recognition of the Georgia's Got Talent dancer.
Apparently not. Maybe the blue hair, the piercing, the different context, or just the 7 years, but she was really curious.
And this is where modern tech steps in again.
Totally. She didn't just shrug it off. She started asking around, shared the video with her contacts, even put it in a big university WhatsApp group asking, anyone know this girl?
Like people did.
Almost instantly. That's the power of those networks, right? Mutual friends saw it and were like, yeah, that's Amy Cavittia. They connected them on Facebook.
Wow. So from seeing a TikTok to finding her name and Facebook profile, pretty quick.
Very quick. And for Amy, when she saw a nose profile picture, boom, Instant recognition. That was the girl from Georgia's Got Talent. No doubt this time.
God, imagine that moment, seeing that face again after 7 years, knowing it wasn't just a look-alike.
The messages they exchange, Amy apparently wrote something like, "I've been looking for you for so long."
Yeah, no.
Replied, "Me too." It just confirms that feeling they both had, that sense of something or someone missing.
So they had to meet.
Immediately, they agreed to meet up in Tbilisi at the Rustaveli metro station. Big public place.
And the meeting itself, the sources describe it.
Yeah, quite vividly. Amy said it was like looking in a mirror. She said the exact same face, exact same voice. I am her and she is me. Just total identification.
The voice, too. That's always a giveaway with twins.
Right. And no, apparently she doesn't really like hugs. Not a touchy-feely person.
Okay.
But the moment she saw Amy, she just rushed forward and hugged her. She admitted later, "I don't like hugs, but I hugged her." It was just this spontaneous, instinctive thing.
That primal connection, wow, just overrides everything else.
Exactly. The rational mind just switches off for a second.
So after that initial shock, that powerful reunion, they start comparing notes.
Yeah, and the more they talked, the more the evidence piled up. It went way beyond just looking alike or sounding alike.
What kind of things?
Well, little things first. They both loved dancing, for instance, which is interesting given the TV show connection. But then the big stuff started aligning. Their birthplace. Both born in the exact same maternity hospital, Kurtsky Hospital, out in western Georgia.
The same one.
The very same one. And significantly, that hospital doesn't exist anymore. It had closed down.
Okay, that already sounds suspicious in hindsight. Easier to cover tracks if the place is gone.
Precisely. But the absolute clincher, the irrefutable proof, was medical.
Oh.
They both suffered from the exact same genetic bone disorder. It's called dysplasia.
Both of them. The same rare genetic condition.
Identical condition. Born in the same, now defunct hospital. Looking identical, sounding identical, sharing a genetic disorder. I mean, the odds of that being coincidence are basically zero. They were twins.
Case closed, right. Biologically speaking.
You'd think so. But this is where the story takes that sharp turn from reunion miracle to exposing a crime. Because despite all this overwhelming evidence, their official birth certificates, they told a completely different story, a calculated lie.
What did they say?
They listed their birth dates as being weeks apart.
Weeks. Not days, but weeks.
Weeks, deliberately staggered.
Why? What's the purpose of that?
To make sure that if anyone ever did look at the records, side by side, they wouldn't suspect they were twins. Or even related. It's a classic tactic in hiding illegal adoptions, creating just enough discrepancy to throw off suspicion.
Wow. So the documents themselves were forged to prevent exactly this kind of discovery.
Absolutely. Amy said something like, "Every time I learned something new about Ano, things got stranger." And this was the strangest thing. The official state record was a fabrication.
So this forced the big confrontation, didn't it, with the families?
It had to. They went back to their respective adoptive parents, armed with all this evidence, including the conflicting birth certificates. And, well, the truth came out.
Both sets of parents confessed.
Both sets. They admitted the girls were adopted, or perhaps more accurately, obtained, back in 2002.
And what was their story? Did they match up?
Eerily so. It was like they'd been given the same script, which, suggests how organized this whole thing was.
What did they say?
Both adoptive mothers said they'd been unable to conceive naturally, and they were told by staff at the hospital that there was an unwanted baby they could adopt directly from the maternity ward.
An unwanted baby, just like that.
Yeah. And, crucially, both families insisted they paid money, but they believed these were just doctor's fees or, administrative costs.
They claimed they didn't realize they were buying a child.
That's what they claimed. They said because doctors, nurses, hospital staff were involved, it all felt legitimate, compliant even. They trusted the institution.
That sounds convenient. I mean, paying a large sum of cash directly to hospital staff for a baby, getting documents with weird dates. Did they really think that was above board?
That's the murky area, isn't it? Was it genuine naivety, or was it perhaps a degree of willful blindness that they desperately wanted a child?
Right.
The crime ring basically exploited that desperation. They offered a solution, wrapped it in just enough quasi-legitimacy, the hospital setting, the fees that the parents could maybe convince themselves it was okay.
And avoid asking too many difficult questions.
Exactly. Ano's reaction kind of sums up the emotional tangle. She said she was angry, upset with her family, but also she just wanted the hard talks to be over so they could move on.
The need for family, for normalcy, maybe overrides the anger in that moment.
It seems like it. But the discovery that they weren't just adopted, but likely stolen, that changed everything.
Yeah, that realization must have been devastating. Their first thought wasn't even the truth, right? They suspected their birth mother.
That was the initial awful suspicion. Maybe their biological mother had sold them. It's a dark place to go, but understandable given what they knew then.
So how did they find out the real story?
Through a Facebook group, it's called I Still Search For.
Okay.
It's this huge online community in Georgia, specifically for families searching for children they believe were stolen at birth, and for adoptees looking for their biological families. It's become this central hub for exposing this whole scandal.
And they found their mother there.
They did. Her name is Azza, and she was living in Germany by then, and her story, it's just heartbreaking.
What happened to her?
She had fallen into a coma right after giving birth to the twins.
Oh, wow.
When she finally woke up, the hospital staff told her flat out, your babies died. Both of them died shortly after birth.
Oh, my God. So she spent 20 years grieving children who were alive.
20 years mourning babies who had been stolen and sold while she was unconscious.
That is horrific. And it explains Enno's feeling, doesn't it? That sense of absence.
Absolutely. Anoa talked about always feeling like something was missing. She even used to have these recurring dreams about a little girl dressed in black who would follow her around asking about her day.
Wow. Like a subconscious echo of her lost twin.
It really seems like it, that deep internal sense that her world wasn't complete.
And this Facebook group, I Still Search For,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't just a one-off thing for Amy and Enno. It pointed to something much bigger.
Much, much bigger. The group was founded by a journalist named Tamuna Musaridz, and she started it because she discovered she was adopted under suspicious circumstances back in the 1980s.
So she had a personal stake in this.
Deeply personal. And she started investigating. What she uncovered was, well, it's chilling. She estimates this black market for babies wasn't just a blip. It ran for decades.
How long are we talking?
Potentially from the 1950s or maybe the 70s, definitely booming through the 80s and 90s, and right up until the mid-2000s. The laws in Georgia only really started to tighten up around 2006.
Decades. And the scale. You mentioned the numbers were staggering.
Musaridz's estimate, based on her research and the sheer volume of people coming forward, is up to 100,000 babies stolen and sold.
100,000. That's almost unimaginable. That's not just a crime wave. That's a fundamental societal breakdown.
She calls it systemic. And when you look at the Facebook group now, it has over 230,000 members. Think about that. Nearly 250,000 people touched by this, searching for answers.
What allowed this to happen on such a massive scale for so long?
Well, you have to consider the context, especially in the later decades. The collapse of the Soviet Union in the early 90s threw Georgia, like many former republics, into chaos.
Right. Massive economic hardship, political instability.
Exactly. Institutions were weak, corruption was rampant, poverty was widespread. And in that kind of power vacuum, organized crime thrives, especially something as profitable as this.
So this wasn't just a few bad apples in hospitals.
No, this was an organized crime network. Musaridz's work suggests it involved people at literally every level of society.
Like who?
Okay, so you had the frontline people in the hospitals, doctors, nurses, but you also needed people for logistics, maybe taxi drivers moving babies or documents. And critically, you needed people higher up.
Government officials.
Had to be. To make an illegal adoption look legal, you need forged documents, birth certificates, registry entries that requires access, serious access, within the government's civil registry system. Someone was facilitating the paperwork.
And the price? You said it was high.
Very high for the time and place, somewhere between $1,000 and $1,500 per baby.
Which is like a year's salary.
Roughly, yeah, for an average person back then. So this wasn't about desperate people finding homes for unwanted babies. This was a lucrative business built on theft and deception.
And the deception towards the birth parents was brutal.
Deliberately cruel. The standard lie was, your baby died. But they had backup plans if parents pushed back.
Like what if the parents demanded to see the body?
The staff had excuses ready. Sometimes they'd say, oh, the baby's already been buried, hospital policy, special plot.
Oh, convenient.
Or, and this is truly grim, sometimes they would actually show the grieving parents a dead infant they kept frozen in the morgue.
What? Not their child.
No, just a dead baby to provide that false closure to stop the questions. It's monstrous.
And the babies who were stolen? Where did they go immediately?
The network had it worked out. Participating doctors and nurses would apparently rent apartments nearby. These functioned as secret holding centers.
Off-the-books nurseries.
Basically, stolen babies were moved there quickly, cared for by hired nannies, kept hidden until a buyer was lined up.
And these buyers weren't just in Georgia.
No, the market was international. While many babies were sold within Georgia, a significant number went abroad. The sources mention the U.S., Canada, Cyprus, Russia.
Which add a whole other layer of complexity. Kids growing up in North America or Europe with absolutely no idea their entire origin story is based on a crime committed decades ago.
Exactly. Their identities built on forged papers originating from this massive Georgian syndicate.
Let's talk more about the victims, the birth parents. Amy and Anna's story brought this to light, but the pain of those parents, it must be immense.
It really illustrates the depth of the trauma. The lies weren't just simple lies. They were often elaborate and designed to inflict lasting psychological damage.
Like the story of Irina Otarashvili.
Yeah, that one is particularly harrowing. Back in 1978, she was told her newborn twins had died. And, back then, especially, you didn't question doctors. Authority was absolute. So she grieved, accepted it.
But the story didn't end there.
No. Years later, decades later, as the scandal started bubbling up, her younger daughter convinced her to look into it more. And they uncovered this detail.
Oh, listen.
The hospital didn't dispose of the supposed bodies. They sealed them inside a suitcase. And they told the parents to take the suitcase home and bury it themselves in their own backyard.
They made them bury a suitcase.
Yes. Imagine the psychological weight of that. Performing a burial, mourning over this box, decades pass. Finally, spurred by the new information, the family digs it up.
And inside.
Tree branches, just branches. No human remains. Nothing.
Oh my God. That's not just theft, that's psychological warfare. Forcing them to enact this fake funeral, the sheer cruelty.
It's staggering. It ensured silence, it ensured grief, it cemented the lie in the most visceral way possible.
And there are other stories just as disturbing, like Kedia Karashvili.
Kedi's story highlights the brazenness, how they'd lie even when the mother knew her baby was alive. She gave birth prematurely, 2 months early, but she heard her son cry. She actually nursed him for 6 days while he was in an incubator. She bonded with him. She knew he was viable.
She had physical contact, established that connection.
Absolutely. Then, one day, she goes up to the nursery. The incubator's empty. There's a different baby lying on a table nearby, covered up. She said she could even hear her own baby's cry faintly from somewhere else in the room.
No.
But a doctor and nurse immediately rushed her out, just hustled her away. Later, they told her the baby had died that day.
But she knew better. She'd held him.
She knew. And the hospital provided nothing. No body, no birth certificate, no death certificate. They just told her husband, don't worry, we'll handle everything. Total stonewall.
And she's still searching.
Still searching, holding on to that memory, that certainty, even though she knows the records are probably gone or faked. She can't properly grieve because there's no closure, no official proof of death. It's this void created by the hospital's actions.
With so many stories like this, such obvious widespread crime, surely there were investigations. Justice must have been served at some point.
You would absolutely think so. But the history of official investigations in Georgia is, well, it's deeply frustrating.
How so?
There was an investigation back in 2003 looking into international child trafficking. And yes, some arrests were made, but very little information was ever made public. Accountability was minimal. And remember, this was before the stronger anti-trafficking laws were even put in place in 2006.
So early efforts fizzled out.
Pretty much. And later attempts weren't much better. Jump forward to 2015. Another investigation happens. They arrest the director of a maternity hospital, a guy named Alexandra, clearly implicated in the scandal.
Okay, sounds promising.
He was acquitted very quickly. And not only acquitted, he went right back to his job running the hospital.
What? How is that possible?
It strongly suggests the network was still powerful enough, connected enough, to protect its key players. Deep-seated corruption shielding itself.
So impunity, basically.
Largely, yes. Now, the government did launch a fresh investigation in 2022, mainly because Amy and Anna's story got so much international attention thanks to the BBC documentary and other coverage.
And this new investigation, any progress?
They've interviewed around 40 people, but even officials admit, decades later, it's incredibly difficult. Records are gone, memories fade, witnesses may have died. Reconstructing the evidence needed for prosecutions now is a massive challenge. For many of these cases, the truth might just be lost to time and deliberate obfuscation.
Despite all that darkness, that systemic failure, Amy and Enno did find some personal resolution, right? They met Asa, their birth mother.
They did. They traveled to Germany to meet her. The BBC actually captured that reunion.
Must have been incredibly emotional.
Overwhelmingly so, by all accounts. For Asa, imagine. After 20 years believing your babies were dead, suddenly discovering they're alive, they're grown women, and they're standing in front of you.
Must have given her life new meaning.
That's what the sources suggest. A profound sense of purpose restored. Like reclaiming a part of her soul that had been stolen along with her children.
And their relationship now.
It's described as connected, definitely loving, but still developing. You can't just instantly recreate 20 years of lost time and intimacy. But they're in touch. They're building that bond. It shows that biological connection, that family tie, can survive incredible trauma and separation.
And finding their mother didn't stop them. They joined the fight for others.
Immediately. Their personal story became fuel for the larger cause. They've actively joined the campaign, working alongside people like Tamuna Muzaridz to push for justice and answers for all the other families affected.
Tamuna Muzaridz, the journalist who started the Facebook group, she's helped a lot of people.
Over 100 families reunited, apparently, thanks to her work and the platform she created, finding connections, digging through archives, pushing authorities. She's been a driving force.
That's incredible. 100 families finding some answers.
It is, but there's a really poignant irony to her story.
What's that?
While she's helped reunite so many others, Tamuna still hasn't found her own birth family.
Wow. She's still searching for herself while helping everyone else.
Exactly. She dedicates her life to this cause, holding on to hope for herself, but fully aware that for tens of thousands of Georgians caught up in this, that resolution might never come. The scale of the damage is just that vast.
So we started this deep dive with a fleeting image on a TV talent show.
Yeah, a near miss back in 2014.
And it ultimately circled back to a different screen, a tiny TikTok video 7 years later.
Technology is the unlikely detective.
Right. Exposing this massive, decades-long criminal enterprise that literally trafficked babies, stole them at birth.
It's just a devastating illustration of what happens when systems fail, when corruption takes root in the very institutions meant to protect life. Hospitals, government registries.
And the human cost. Up to 100,000 lives potentially redirected, families broken, identities erased or falsified. It's almost too much to comprehend.
It really is. The courage of Amy and Ano and Tamuna and all the others searching, it's remarkable in the face of such systemic betrayal.
It leaves us with a really significant question, especially thinking about the international angle you mentioned. What about all those children sold abroad? The ones who grew up in the U.S. or Canada or Europe, raised by families who likely had no idea about the crime behind the adoption. Their foundational documents, birth certificates, adoption papers, they're potentially all part of this massive fraud.
Where do they even begin to look for the truth? Their legal identity might be built entirely on lies fabricated by a criminal network thousands of miles away, decades ago. How do you untangle that?
It's a profound identity crisis waiting to happen for potentially thousands of people who don't even know they should be asking the question yet.
The legacy of this crime is still unfolding globally, with no easy answers in sight.
Something for you to definitely mull over. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.